Let's be honest for a moment. The subject we're about to talk about often gets whispered in private, but rarely addressed with honesty and maturity. When a woman takes a man into her mouth, it is not just a casual act. It carries meaning, depth, and even health implications that most people never stop to think about. Sexual expression is deeply tied to trust, emotional connection, and overall wellness. This is why it deserves to be spoken about openly, not behind closed doors, and with the seriousness it deserves. Oral intimacy is more than a physical gesture. It reflects comfort, trust, and vulnerability. A woman does not allow that level of closeness unless there is a bond, even if it is temporary. When she takes you in her mouth, it often signals a willingness to explore connection beyond surface level attraction. It means she is open to sharing something raw and unfiltered. That is why it should never be treated as just a sexual act. It is a language of the body expressing both desire and courage. But let's not forget that intimacy is not only about emotions. It is also about health. Urology and sexual health go hand in hand with experiences like these. Many men overlook how their hygiene, hydration, and overall wellness impact a woman's willingness to engage this way. If you take care of your body, she notices clean habits, balanced hormones, and good circulation don't just affect your performance, they directly influence her comfort and desire to be that close to you. Neglecting your health shows up in your sex life more than you may realize. This is why education matters. Sexual wellness is not separate from general wellness. When you eat well, move your body, manage stress, and keep your urological health in check, you are indirectly creating a space where intimacy thrives. A woman who chooses to give you her mouth is showing not just trust but also a form of respect. She wants to honor you. The least you can do is honor her back by keeping your body, your hygiene, and your mind in the best condition possible. There is also a responsibility that comes with receiving such intimacy. Respect her choice. Don't ever reduce it to a simple thrill or bragging, right? If she gives you that kind of access, it's a moment to slow down, to recognize her generosity, and to give back the same level of care and pleasure. Reciprocity is what makes intimacy last. Without it, even the most passionate moments fade quickly. So here's the truth. If she takes you in her mouth, it means she has placed trust in you, and it is up to you to rise to that level. Take care of your health. Take care of your body. Take care of her. Let this be a reminder that sexual acts are never just physical. They are deeply tied to respect, health, and emotional intimacy. So I challenge you today, make your health a priority, not just for yourself, but for the women who choose to trust you with their bodies. Build a lifestyle of wellness, honor intimacy with respect, and let your choices show that you understand the value of what is being given to you. When a woman chooses to take a man into her mouth, it is one of the clearest signals of trust that can exist in intimacy. This act is not one she offers to just anyone because it requires her to surrender a level of control and put herself in a vulnerable position. The truth is, very few women engage in this kind of closeness without feeling a sense of comfort and safety with the person they are with. It becomes more than a sexual gesture. It is a way of saying, I feel at ease with you, and I trust you not to take advantage of that. For many women, it is the difference between mechanical sex and intimate sex because it bridges the gap between lust and vulnerability. It represents a moment where she chooses to let her guard down, and that choice should be respected deeply. When you think about it, her mouth is one of the most personal parts of her body. She speaks with it, she expresses emotions with it, and it is tied to her sense of self and identity. Allowing a man into that space is not only physical, it is symbolic. It means she is inviting you into a part of her world that she does not share lightly. Even if the act seems simple on the surface, it is layered with meaning, and that is why it should never be treated as casual or meaningless. To her, the decision to do it often comes after her mind has already decided she feels safe with you, and that kind of permission is earned, not demanded. It is a reflection of the bond you have created, whether it is emotional, physical, or both. There is also an element of risk for her in this moment, both emotionally and physically, and that risk is part of why it carries such weight. She is trusting you not to embarrass her, not to belittle her, and not to misuse the power that comes with the act. She is also trusting that you respect her health and her comfort because the closeness is undeniable and unfiltered. That level of exposure means she has decided you are worthy of it and that you will handle it with care. This is why men who understand the significance of this act tend to receive it more often, because women sense when their vulnerability is being valued and not exploited. The respect you show in those moments creates the foundation for whether she will feel willing to give that part of herself again. Another layer to consider is that this act is not purely about giving physical pleasure. It is about creating emotional closeness. Women who feel truly connected to their partners are often the ones who embrace this kind of intimacy the most. For her, the act becomes less about technique and more about the bond it represents. She is showing that she is not afraid to be close, not afraid to surrender, and not afraid to reveal a softer side of her sexuality. That kind of openness does not come from nowhere. It comes from trust built through respect, communication, and the way you carry yourself both inside and outside the bedroom. Men often underestimate how much their personal hygiene and general wellness influence a woman's desire to be physically close in such an intimate way. A woman notices the small things, freshness of your skin, the way you smell, how hydrated your body is, and even the way your breath feels against her. These details may not seem important to you, but they affect her level of comfort in the moment. Oral intimacy places her in direct contact with your body in the most vulnerable way, and if you have not taken the time to care for yourself, she feels it immediately. Cleanliness is not just about being presentable, it is a signal of respect for yourself and for her. When you prioritize hygiene, you create an atmosphere where she feels relaxed enough to enjoy the closeness. What many men forget is that a woman's willingness to engage in oral intimacy is closely tied to how safe she feels with your body. If she senses sweat, poor hygiene, or neglect, she may hesitate or avoid it altogether. On the other hand, if she sees that you shower regularly, trim yourself neatly, and maintain your appearance, she feels reassured. These small habits tell her you are someone who values health and that increases her attraction to you. A healthy man is naturally more appealing because it signals strength, vitality, and energy. When you show up smelling clean and feeling fresh, she is more inclined to let her guard down. Hygiene is never just physical, it is psychological as well because it directly affects how desirable you seem to her. Diet and hydration play a bigger role than most men realize. What you put into your body shapes not only how you taste, but also how your body smells naturally. Excessive alcohol, smoking, or heavy junk foods can alter your scent and even make the experience less enjoyable for her. On the other hand, drinking water regularly, eating fruits, and maintaining balance in your meals can actually improve your natural taste and scent. Women are incredibly sensitive to these subtle differences, and though they may not say it out loud, they notice everything. This is why a lifestyle built on wellness pays off in ways that extend beyond the mirror. She wants to enjoy being close to you, and when your body reflects health, she feels invited to get closer without hesitation. Urological health is another key aspect that often goes unnoticed until it becomes a problem. Regular checkups, paying attention to prostate health, and keeping your circulation strong all affect your performance. If your body is functioning well internally, the confidence it gives you will show externally. A man who takes care of his body from the inside radiates a kind of energy that makes a woman feel secure in being intimate with him. She knows that if you respect your health, you will also respect her comfort. That connection between personal care and sexual intimacy is not accidental. It is the foundation for trust in the bedroom. Women naturally lean toward men who demonstrate care for themselves because it signals they will also care for their partner's needs. For many women, oral intimacy is not just about arousal or technique. It is an emotional expression that often goes deeper than physical satisfaction. When she chooses to use her mouth to please you, it can be her way of showing affection and closeness without needing words. It is her saying, "I want to give to you because I feel connected to you." In moments like these, the act itself becomes a love language, one that demonstrates her willingness to step into a role of giving. It is important to see it for what it is, not a transaction or a performance, but a gesture that comes from her heart as much as from her body. When you recognize this, you begin to understand why many women do not offer this act unless they feel something genuine. Emotional safety is the foundation for this type of intimacy. A woman who feels distant, unsure, or disconnected is far less likely to put herself in that vulnerable position. She needs to feel that you value her not just as a sexual partner, but as a whole person. The intimacy of using her mouth is often her way of bridging that emotional closeness into the physical space. If she feels supported and cared for outside the bedroom, she will often be more willing to share herself in deeper ways inside it. This is why men who invest in building emotional connection see a different level of openness from women during sex. She cannot separate her feelings from her actions, and that is what makes this gesture carry such emotional weight. When a woman gives you this part of herself, she is not only focusing on your pleasure, she is also finding her own sense of satisfaction in seeing you respond to her. For her, watching your body react, hearing your breath quicken, and feeling your appreciation all feed back into her own emotional experience. She wants to know that you value what she is doing, that you are present with her, and that you are not taking her effort for granted. When you show her gratitude, whether with your words, your touch, or your expressions, she feels validated. That validation reinforces her desire to keep giving because she knows you are receiving her energy with respect and appreciation. What makes this act so intimate is the absence of barriers. There is no layer between you and her in that moment, which makes the experience deeply personal. She is opening herself up, offering closeness without protection, and that is why it feels different from other forms of sex. She is expressing something that is as much about emotion as it is about desire. For many women, the decision to engage in this way is less about lust and more about proving closeness, building connection, and showing that she trusts you with her vulnerability. It is her way of blending affection with passion, and that is what makes it such a powerful gesture when given freely. When a woman chooses to give you oral intimacy, she is not only offering physical pleasure, she is showing a level of trust that demands respect in return. Too often, men accept this act as if it is simply part of the experience, without realizing how much vulnerability it requires from her. This is why reciprocity is so important. If she is willing to go to that level for you, she deserves the same level of effort, care, and attention in return. It is not about keeping score, but about creating balance in the relationship where both partners feel valued. A man who only takes without giving back slowly breaks down the trust she placed in him when she chose to be that open. Reciprocity can look different depending on the moment, but the principle remains the same. It could mean being attentive to her needs during foreplay, making sure her body is warmed up and cared for before moving into penetration. It could mean returning the gesture by using your own mouth to please her in a way that shows her you are equally devoted to her pleasure. Or it may simply mean stopping in the middle of the moment to tell her how much you appreciate what she is doing. For women, the sense of being seen and valued is just as arousing as the physical touch itself. When you create a dynamic of giving and receiving, the bond grows deeper and she becomes more willing to open herself to you again in the future. Respect in this context also means being aware of how you respond during the act. If you are careless, dismissive, or act entitled, she will feel it instantly. Women are highly attuned to body language and emotional energy in intimate settings. They know when you are treating the experience as a selfish indulgence versus a shared moment. Gratitude is the simplest but most powerful response you can offer. When she feels that you genuinely enjoy what she is giving, not just for the physical sensation but for the closeness it represents, she feels more fulfilled. That fulfillment encourages her to keep investing in the sexual connection because she knows it is mutual and not one-sided. Another part of reciprocity is understanding that pleasure is not only about climax. Sometimes it is about presence, patience, and attention to detail. If she spends time giving you pleasure and you immediately rush past her needs afterward, you are sending a message that her effort is secondary. But if you slow down, explore her body, and dedicate time to her satisfaction, you create a rhythm that reinforces balance. Women remember how you make them feel during intimacy, and that memory is what influences how far they are willing to go with you in the future. The more respected she feels, the more freedom she gives. When you approach oral intimacy as a shared exchange instead of a one-sided reward, the connection becomes deeper, the trust grows stronger, and the entire relationship benefits from it. Your sexual health is closely tied to your urological health, and many men overlook just how much of an impact this has on the quality of their intimate experiences. The state of your prostate, your circulation, and your hormone levels all influence how you perform, how long you last, and even how pleasurable the experience is for your partner. When these areas of your health are neglected, it can show up in ways that disrupt the connection. Weak erections, low stamina, or discomfort during sex are not just random problems, they are often signals from your body that something deeper needs attention. By addressing your urological health, you are not only taking care of yourself, but also protecting the intimacy you share with a partner. Circulation plays a massive role in sexual performance. Strong blood flow is what allows for firm and lasting erections, and when your lifestyle habits harm your circulation, your performance suffers. Smoking, excessive drinking, and poor diet all constrict blood vessels, which over time can make it difficult to sustain arousal. This not only affects you physically, but it also affects your partner's experience. A woman who is giving you her mouth wants to feel that energy, that strength, and that vitality in your response. When your body responds with power, it reassures her that you are healthy and engaged. When it struggles, it creates frustration for both of you. Prioritizing your cardiovascular and urological health becomes a gift not just to you but to her as well. Hormone balance is another piece of the puzzle that men often ignore. Testosterone, for example, is not only about libido, it affects your energy, mood, and even how your body maintains muscle and burns fat. Low testosterone can lead to a reduced desire for intimacy, weaker erections, and a lack of enthusiasm in the bedroom. A partner can feel that energy shift even if you try to hide it. Women are sensitive to whether you are fully present with them, and if your body is not cooperating, it creates distance. Checking your hormones regularly, making adjustments through lifestyle changes, and seeking medical guidance if necessary are all part of maintaining a strong and healthy sexual connection. Diet and lifestyle habits also influence taste and scent, which directly affect a woman's experience during oral intimacy. If your body is overloaded with alcohol, processed foods, or smoking, it can create a taste that makes the act unpleasant for her. On the other hand, when you hydrate well, eat clean foods, and maintain balance, it improves your natural chemistry. These subtle differences matter more than men often realize. A woman who enjoys being that close to you will be more willing to repeat the act, and her enjoyment comes directly from the effort you put into caring for your body. What you consume, how you rest, and how you manage stress all feed into your sexual health in ways that are impossible to separate from intimacy. The way a woman engages with you during oral intimacy often reflects how she feels about the relationship as a whole. Sexual behavior rarely exists in isolation. If she is eager, confident, and expressive in those moments, it usually means she feels emotionally secure with you outside the bedroom. Her comfort is built on trust, and that trust is what allows her to be so open with her body. On the other hand, hesitation, lack of enthusiasm, or avoidance often point to something deeper. It could be unresolved issues, lack of emotional closeness, or simply feeling unappreciated. This is why paying attention to her behavior in the bedroom is so important, because it mirrors the health of your connection beyond sex. When intimacy is flowing well, it often means communication is strong in the rest of the relationship. Women who feel listened to, respected, and valued are more likely to express themselves freely in sexual ways. Oral intimacy becomes another way of showing affection and reinforcing closeness. She does it not out of obligation but out of genuine desire because she feels safe enough to explore that level of vulnerability. This is why emotional connection and sexual openness are inseparable for many women. If you ignore her needs outside the bedroom, you may notice that she withdraws inside the bedroom, even if she does not speak about it directly. Her actions are often her clearest communication. For some women, the act of taking a man into her mouth is one of the most personal ways she can show trust. If she avoids it or does it reluctantly, it may reflect that she feels disconnected or unappreciated. This is not always about physical attraction. It often has more to do with how secure she feels with you emotionally. When her emotional needs are unmet, her physical willingness often fades. But when she feels cared for, her willingness to give herself in such intimate ways grows naturally. That is why a man who prioritizes respect, consistency, and attentiveness outside the bedroom often experiences deeper passion inside of it. The two are directly linked in ways that cannot be ignored. It is also important to recognize that the energy you bring into the bedroom sets the tone for her response. If you approach intimacy with selfishness, she will sense it. If you enter with gratitude and presence, she will reflect that back. Oral intimacy especially is about exchange, and the quality of that exchange is a mirror of how balanced the relationship feels overall. Women rarely separate sex from emotion, which means if she is giving freely in this way, she likely feels the relationship is healthy. When she hesitates or pulls back, it may be her way of signaling that something feels off, even if she cannot put it into words. Observing these patterns allows you to understand where your connection truly stands.